A linebacker transfers. Information about scheduling, future scheduling for the Big Ten Pac-12 ACC Alliance, and an Ohio State running back signs an NIL deal with Arby's. All that and more in today's episode of Locked On Buckeyes.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Thursday, September 23rd in the year 2021. And no matter if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast or if you're watching us on YouTube or WKYC.com, I want to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes a part of your day. On today's episode, we will talk about possible scheduling notes and news in regards to the Big Ten Pac-12 ACC Alliance, and an Ohio State running back signs an NIL deal with Arby's. But before we get to any of that, I want to remind you to make sure you check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast, because there's simply no better place to get all the news on the Big Ten Conference than with Nate Dickinson and the Locked On Big Ten podcast. To follow the Locked On Big Ten podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your fine podcast. With the way the season has gone so far, and when preparation for the season was going through, we talked about how there is a possibility that an Ohio State player will transfer soon. Now, did we think it was going to happen before the season? Yes, we got Jameson Williams. We got some other players, Mookie Cooper, that ended up transferring, offensive linemen as well. They ended up leaving the program based off the depth and the position in the depth chart. But I don't think anybody expected a transfer to happen at this part of the season, especially when you figure out who that person is. Senior linebacker Dallas Gant has entered the transfer portal. It was first reported via Austin Ward of Letterman Row. Dallas Gant is someone that many people expected, myself included, to get more play than he has so far this season. It's been very confusing. It's been very eye-popping as far as what we expected versus what we have seen so far this season. Let's look at the snap counts very quickly. We'll look more into him transferring. So far this year, the snap counts have gone like this for the linebacker position. Some of this might surprise you when you hear it. Leading the team in snaps for the linebacker position, Tommy Eichenberg with 160. Cody Simons, number 2 at 140. TreveYon Mitchell, who did not play this last game, had 131. And then Dallas Gant has 47. Steele Chambers, who just is a new linebacker this year, has 35. Kavon Pope, 31. And then Paula EA, now OT, has 5. Here is the interesting thing. TreveYon Mitchell did not play last game. He would be number 1 in snaps if he played last game. He went TreveYon Mitchell, that is, 70 snaps against Minnesota. Then he had 61 against Oregon. Did not play this last game. I do not believe Dallas Gant is the 4th best linebacker at Ohio State. I don't think Kavon Pope is that linebacker there where he was at number 6 as far as snap counts go. But that's where it is. Dallas Gant against Minnesota, 41 snaps. 5 snaps against Oregon. Only 1 against Tulsa. That's alarming. That's eye-popping. We all have seen how we believe the hierarchy should go for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and we have all seen how we think players should be played, the order they should play on the field. Myself, it's going to go out there and say it. I think TreveYon Mitchell and Cody Simon should be the starting linebackers. Tommy Eichenberg, get off the field. Dallas Gant, Kavon Pope. If you're going to rotate guys, they need to see the field more. Paula EA, now OT. I think he's more of your 3rd and 1. Fourth and a half yard to go. I think he's more of that guy. You give me 4th and goal or 3rd and goal inside the 5. He is that kind of guy, 6'2", 250. You get him outside in space, outside of the box. Not a guy that's going to get very much playing time right now. That can change down the road, but right now, I just think he's more of your inside phone booth type of linebacker, not somebody you're going to see that is playing the football consistently in the open field. Dallas Gant's leaving. Does it leave a hole for Ohio State? Yes, because yes, he has not played as of yet a lot lately. He had been behind a lot of really good linebackers, especially last year in Hilliard and Browning and Werner and Borland. All three of those four gentlemen are in the NFL right now. Dallas Gant going in, we all expected more play. But when you're seeing the hierarchy and the way that Al Washington is using the linebackers right now, rotating a lot of guys in from game to game to game, there's a lot of things that don't really sit the same way like they did the previous game. Entering the transfer portal right now was the thing for Dallas Gant, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. The way that the NCAA has a transfer portal, you can enter the transfer portal. Yes, he can still technically go back and play at Ohio State. But I do believe with the extra year of eligibility that he currently has right now due to COVID and the NCAA saying, yes, there is an extra year for these athletes right now. 2 years left to play the football. I mean, hey, man, you might as well go out there and go out with a bang. I do think at some point Dallas Gant will be a good piece, a big piece of a defense. It's just unfortunate that the expectations that we have for him going into the season, we're not seeing those things on the field based off how Al Washington is using the linebackers in that position right now. Will we see more people transfer? That is to be determined. A lot of people on the offensive line that are good, a lot of guys on the D-line that will be stepping up very, very soon. Secondary, receivers, we're going to see a lot of guys play. Running back, will we see guys transfer? That's something I don't know. I'm not going to speculate that right now. Dallas Gant, glad you were a Buckeye and looking forward to the future. Wherever you land up and where you are on a football team, being a big piece of that team. Let's step away very quickly. When we come back, we'll talk about a little scheduling note for the Big Ten Pac-12 ACC Alliance. I think you'll like it. But first, check this out. If this is your first time checking out Locked On Buckeyes, I want to say welcome. Or if it's your first time in a long time, I want to say welcome back. Locked On Buckeyes drops a fresh new episode for you every Monday through Friday with 3 live shows a week every Tuesday and Thursday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with another live show, post-game show, at the conclusion of Saturday's game. Whatever time that game is, approximately 30 minutes after that game, we will be live right there. So no matter if you're listening and enjoying this episode via the Odyssey app, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts on a 5-day-a-week basis, want to say thank you for making it this podcast the first listen of your day, or you're watching us on YouTube or watching us on WKYC.com. Thank you, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a beat. The Big Ten, ACC, Pac-12 Alliance, I do believe there's going to get a lot more traction, a lot more news surrounding this here alliance. What does it mean for the future? How will these things affect the bottom line, the dollars and cents that these conferences are getting and these schools are getting based off this alliance and this agreement? And ultimately, the dollars and cents comes down to when these individuals are playing the football. Recently, Pac-12 Commissioner George Karlaftis was talking to, George Kliavkoff. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, Siri. I got it wrong, and Siri said sorry as well. George Kliavkoff. I'm going to get that correct one day. He was talking to some beat writers, some media members in Pac-12 country, and he had a little interesting note in regards to the Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC scheduling. And when I went through this and listened and read what he said to these individuals, I liked what he said. I like the little variation we're seeing, what we will see in regards to scheduling right now. Here's what he had to say in regards to scheduling while talking to members of Pac-12 media. Quote, "The North Star for the alliance we announced with the Big Ten and the ACC when it comes to scheduling and football is what we call 8-1-1. So the Buffs would play 8 conference games, 1 game against the ACC, 1 game against the Big Ten. That would be a home and away, and would switch every year. And then the last 2 games Rick George and his team would have an opportunity to schedule to make sure you have 7 home games and make sure you get to play a couple of teams you want to play. What is unique about that is the idea is we wouldn't be scheduling 10 to 15 years in advance, which as an outsider coming into college athletics never made any sense to me. What we would be doing is focusing on scheduling after the end of the previous season that we could create really interesting matchups that are in the moment, end quote. Now, a little note that from what he's talking to, this is a Colorado Buffalo beat writer. So when he says, so the Buffs would play 8 conference games, that he's specifically talking about the Colorado Buffaloes and Rick George, the coach of that team. I like this. Now, I do also believe that an 8-1-1 would be ideal for the Big Ten as well. The ACC already plays 8 conference games. The Pac-12 and the Big Ten play 9. So it would be a dial back to 8 conference games. Not a problem with that at all. When you're playing 1-1. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, I'm going to throw some names out there, not so much the teams you might want to think, but let's just say Ohio State plays 8 conference games. You're going to play your Big Ten East opponents. You're going to play 1 team from the West. You're 7 plus 1. That's going to be on a rotating basis. Now, they may dial that back and say, well, let's play 5 of the East, 2 from the West. Or no, 6 from the East, 2 from the West to make it 8. Whatever it is, it's going to be 8 conference games. You're going to play 1 Pac-12 team. Right now, let's go ahead and use UCLA. They are a team everybody's talking about. I think USC will get more traction once their interim coach and they start winning a whole lot more. I think I would possibly use USC in that spot right now. Let's just say the 8 conference games, 8 Big Ten games. Going to write this down on my notebook. 1 Pac-12 team, UCLA. 1 ACC team. Let's use North Carolina. Mac Brown doing a phenomenal job out there. That leaves 2 games left. See, if you're 8, you're 1, and you're 1. Now, you can go out there and play 2 group of 5 schools. You can play a higher group of 5. You can play a lower group of 5. You can play a team from the Big 12 or the SEC, whichever one you want, but you're playing 10 Power 5 teams every single year with a possibility. Let's make it 11, and let's go ahead and add in an SEC team. Let's add in Ole Miss. So Ole Miss will be the one of the other schools. And let's keep the other one local, and let's keep it with Cincinnati. You may say, Jay, that's a tough schedule. I think that's part of the thing that they're trying to put together. You get a tough schedule. You get something tougher so that when it comes down to the committee deciding who's going to be in the playoff, well, you look at strength of schedule for the SEC. You look at strength of schedule for the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12. Even though the ACC and the Pac-12 aren't as dominant or as tough of conferences as the Big Ten is, I firmly think that you're going to find when it comes down to the strength of schedule, which these individuals will use a whole lot more than using their eyeballs to figure out who the best team is. I firmly think we're going to see them realize, say, whoa, they're playing football in the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12. It's a lot more brutal than what we expected. Yeah, the SEC, you have the motto, it just means more, and so be it. But honestly, when you look at things like this, 8 Big Ten teams, a UCLA and a North Carolina. Just throwing a couple names out there. UCLA and a North Carolina. Then you're going to add in an Ole Miss and a Cincinnati, or let's say you take away Cincinnati and you're playing Akron, who is bad, but it's still a team on your schedule. Just saying, guys, this right here, this note here is amazing. Now, if we go to Ohio State's schedule for the future, and we look and see exactly how their schedule works out as far as the non-conference slate and who they are playing, going to go to fbsschedules.com. I firmly suggest you checking them out because not only do they have the current schedule, but they also have future schedules as well. Let's go to 2023. I was looking at this recently, so I'm going to go to 2022. Let's go 2022 first. And in 2022, I believe the schedule is already mapped out. Ohio State has 3 non-conference games, one against Notre Dame, one against Arkansas State, one against Toledo. So you have 2 smaller schools, then you have a Notre Dame. 2023, I'm doing this on purpose because 2023, I believe it is a year that they will be playing 2 Power 5 schools. Wrong. That's 2024. But they have San Jose State, they have Western Kentucky, and they have Notre Dame. You see the idea here? 2 group of 5s, and then you have a power in Notre Dame. 2024, things get a little bit interesting, and this is what we'll see more of when we start getting the alliance and the scheduling. Now, this schedule is currently still going to have it's still going to have your 9 regular season games. That will change. My gears are all off. Shouldn't be doing this live on air, but it's where we're at right now. 2025. This is what the alliance will look like, and this is what the scheduling will look more like. You're going to have your 9 or 8, right now it's still 9 regular season games for the Big Ten Football Conference. And then you're going to have, right now it's 2 Power 5 schools in there, and the other opponent during that season has not been announced just yet. Ohio State in 2025, they play the Texas Longhorns in Columbus. They also play the Washington Huskies in Columbus as well. I do think Washington will be a better football team than they currently are. I think the Texas Longhorns will be a better team than they will be better over the next few years than they are right now. Texas not bad. Washington working things through, but you're going to get a lot more of these big matchups that we're seeing right now. We're going to get a lot more of them. Not only is it great for the alliance, it's great for the players, and it's great for the networks. It's great for the conferences. Better competition, more eyeballs on the television screen, more money for all the schools involved. A great note there from Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff. I think I'm getting it correct. And if this gets put into action very, very soon, I think it's very good for the players involved, coaches involved, because there's a lot more great atmospheres, a lot more great matchups for college football players. Step away very quickly when we come back. An Ohio State running back, TreveYon Henderson to be exact, signs an NIL deal with Arby's. We'll talk about that and more when we come back. But first, check this out. As we wrap up this episode here of Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. One quick reminder, I want to thank everyone out there listening or watching this here podcast I'm going to thank you for making this podcast your first listen of every single day in Locked On Buckeyes. Even though we're doing a couple live shows every single week, we are still going to be doing the 5 shows every single week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sometimes Sunday for a post-game show. But we're going to be doing 5 shows a week no matter what. 3 of them will be live every week on Twitter at jsteven07 and on YouTube as well. Just search Locked On Buckeyes. Not only making this your first listen of the day, thank you, but also for tapping in, tuning in, and being up to date and ready to go when Locked On Buckeyes goes live. Coming after TreveYon Henderson's huge performance and record-setting game in his matchup against the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes, where he had 277 rushing yards, a freshman record, single-game rushing record for the Ohio State Buckeyes as well. He has the third most rushing yards in a single game in Ohio State Buckeye history. I believe it's Trey Sermon, Eddie George, and then Mr. TreveYon Henderson in that order for the single-game rushing record at Ohio State. Early Wednesday morning, mid-morning on Wednesday, it was announced that TreveYon Henderson, along with other running backs in college football, have signed an NIL deal with Arby's. Yes, name, image, and likeness. It was introduced formally and officially on July 1st of this year. And the next thing you know, you had players that were signing name, image, and likeness deals, as they have been called, very, very quickly. You've seen some females that have a big social media following, maybe also coupled with where they're playing their collegiate athletics, signing NIL deals, a lot of money. Master P's son signed, I believe, a $1 million or $2 million NIL deal before he played a college game. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. When your dad knows how to get things done, Master P, his son is a beneficiary of that and is able to make a lot of money. We have seen Quinn Ewers decide to leave his senior year of high school and to come to Ohio State to play the football. We have seen numerous athletes at Ohio State, TreveYon Henderson as well. they have gotten vehicles from different car dealerships as well. And I do believe these are endorsement deals. Don't quote me on this. I haven't seen exactly the details of the contract, but I do believe this is just them giving they're not keeping these cars. These are cars that you're getting. Once you get so many miles, you come in, trade it in, and go on back. I don't believe the dealerships are spending X amount of dollars to just give these cars to these young men. I think it's more of an endorsement deal. Drive this for a little bit, bring it back. TreveYon Henderson, along with Sean Shivers, Auburn running back, Washington State senior running back Max Borghi, Notre Dame redshirt sophomore Kyron Williams, who is amazing. Those are just some of the running backs that are a part of this NIL deal with Arby's. Here's what here's what Max Borghi from Washington State had to say about this here deal. Quote, I was so excited to hear that Arby's was announcing a program for running backs and knew right away I want to work with them. Working with them to be an Arby's running back, what could be better? End quote. Here is exactly what these athletes will get. The fast food chain will pay up to 200 Division I running backs $500 each for posting a video on Twitter or Instagram with the phrase, tonight, I'm getting Arby's, along with the hashtags, #Arby'sRBs, and hashtag sponsored. In addition to the money, each athlete will receive merchandise designed for the 2021 class of Arby's running backs. It's a great idea. Go for it. If you have endorsement deals that are approved via your school that you're currently at and fall into the legal legislation inside of your state, go for it. I'm all for people being able to make money. However, this little note I need to make before we close up shop. Don't let this cloud you and don't let this hinder you while you're on the field. And please, please, please don't allow NIL deals to mess up locker rooms, mess up chemistry, and to allow the effects of somebody possibly being jealous to hinder how successful you are on the field. We're in a world where people get jealous all the time. We're in a world where things ruffle people's feathers when you least expect it. Yes, I am happy for people like Quinn Ewers, TreveYon Henderson, and everybody else at The Ohio State University. Jack Sawyer got a vehicle got a truck, I believe, recently. And all these athletes that are getting these vehicles, I'm happy for them. My one hesitation, not so much hesitation, my one warning, do not let this get in the way of your team being successful. That's it. That's all I got to say. Guys, it's been a great show. Thank you once again for making this listen, Locked on Buckeyes, the first listen of every single day. It's free and available on all platforms. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can send your emails to jstevens317@gmail.com. We will be live tonight. I say we because myself and Jeff Hunt from the Off the Ball Network will be live tonight, Thursday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on not Facebook. I don't even know why I said Facebook. I'm not even on there very much. On Twitter at jstevens07, on my personal Twitter page, as well as on Locked on Buckeyes on the YouTube. Just search Locked on Buckeyes. Once you get to the YouTube, subscribe, hit that bell so you're notified and alerted when we go live. Guys, we are almost to the time for the Ohio State Buckeyes to take the field one more time. I'm excited to see them play. The spread is large. It should be large for that reason because Ohio State, if they're hitting on all cylinders, they should destroy the Akron Zips. Guys, have a great day. And as always, go Bucks!